what is more important to God?
Okay.
Picking up from last time.
Right.
What is more important to God, faith or works?
What's more important to God? All right. So Hebrews chapter 11, verse 6 says, now without faith, it is impossible to please God, since the one who draws near to him must believe that he exists and that he rewards those who seek him. And so I think it would be, so if it's impossible to please God without faith, I think it's fair to say that the most important thing is faith.
Okay, but what about all the atheist people that say I can do good things without believing in religion?
Sure. And that's kind of part of it, right?
Okay.
If you're asking, like, what does God think is the most important thing? Well, yeah, there's a lot of people who are out there doing, they do good things for society, right?
Okay.
And so there's, it's not saying that only Christians can do good things for society. So there are people that do things that are good, they're helping people.
Okay.
And so I think that's why when you ask the question, is it faith or works that's more important to God? Well, the only thing that pleases God, it's impossible to please God without faith.
So are those works like worthless to God? Like if I do good stuff, but I don't believe in
Him,
Jesus, like is there any benefit to that for me at all? With Jesus,
with Jesus, there's the benefit of that you've cared for some of His creation.
Okay,
but in terms of like any kind of personal gain that you have, or personal thing that you might get from Jesus, that's not there. So,
okay, but then that would be like, there's a bug flying around.
Really is.
But then that would be like, okay, so do I only do works for God and not for
others?
And not for, or I mean, do I only do works for myself so I'm good with Jesus?
Right. No, I wouldn't want you to do that either.
Okay.
So in 1 Corinthians 13, this is what's interesting. Because in verse 2, it says, if I have the gift of prophecy and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have all faith so that I can move mountains, but do not have love, I am nothing.
Okay.
And so
you keep throwing other buzzwords into these questions, and I'm like, whoa, where did that come from? Well, you're like, why do I have to love anyone now?
Right. And so that's kind of like when you ask a question like, is it just all about me? Well, if it's all about you, then that's a lack of love, right?
Love towards who?
Love toward others,
not love towards Jesus.
Yeah, well, I would hope that there would a person of faith, if they have love, that love would need to be both toward God and others.
Okay,
right. I mean, that's the great commandments, right?
Okay.
The Shema is in Deuteronomy 6.
What?
The Shema.
Shema?
The Shema. It just means hear or listen, O Israel. Lord your God is one.
Seriously, I know I said this a long time ago, probably.
Right.
But like, you say these words, and I don't know if they're pagan things. like could have been Indian for all I know.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
So it's from Deuteronomy 6. That's just the Hebrew for listen, or hear. That's what the word means. And so in Deuteronomy 6, it says, listen, O Israel, or hear, O Israel, the Lord your God is one. Okay. And then it says, love the Lord your God with all of your heart, with all of your soul, with all of your strength.
Okay.
All right. And so Jesus quotes that as the greatest commandment. And he says, and likened unto that is love your neighbor as yourself.
Okay. What if I don't love myself?
Boy, now we're getting a whole different topic. I mean, no, I think that's a legit point too.
Okay.
Like, if you don't love yourself, I do think it is going to be difficult
for me
to selflessly love others
and do works for them.
Yeah, because often if you don't love self, when you do works or those kind of things, you're probably hoping more than anything that you'll get some kind of recognition,
right,
or love back to affirm yourself that you are loved.
Okay.
And so then it ends up being like this vicious cycle of kind of self still.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if I don't do any of those things, if I don't love anyone, if I don't love myself, if I don't love God, and I don't have faith, then any good things that I do for anybody else is only good because it helped somebody else.
Correct.
And does nothing at all for anybody other than that.
Yeah. So like, I mean, right where here it says in verse 3 of 1 Corinthians 13, right? Is, you can give away all your possessions. You can give, over your body in order to boast, but you don't have love. He says, I gain nothing. And, and so, so that's the reality is like, I don't gain anything. Now, the individuals who receive possessions or are the beneficiaries of my good works, they receive something. Right. And that may benefit them in some way.
Is it different? Okay. So if I, a Christian faith having Jesus and others loving person does a work for someone else, does that feel different to the person who benefits from my work than if I don't love anyone or myself or Jesus or or don't have faith? Like, is that work more important to them?
I see. I think it all depends on probably the interaction you have with the individual. And what I mean by that is, like, if it's just like, okay, I'm writing a check for $50,000 and handing it to someone, right?
Yeah.
They're probably not going to overly care.
You don't have $50,000.
Not to just hand to someone, no. And so if there's, so an individual receives the check, right?
Sure.
They receive a check, and I think if it blesses them, in other words, now they're able to, whether it's get out of debt or whether it's to, pay a medical expense or whatever, right? Like, I think they're going to be grateful to that individual regardless of the motive of that individual.
Okay.
So the way they're going to receive that is with gratitude. But I think that if an individual is doing more than just handing the check, maybe, if there's a sense of them interacting with that individual and showing care and showing empathy, that might be different,
Okay.
But at the end of the day, does it change the fact that this individual felt cared for by someone else, regardless of that other person's motive, right? They still felt cared for because now they're able to have this to pay off that medical bill or get out of debt or whatever it is. And so I do think that's so I think those kind of things when it's like that, but I do think other times when you are showing love, when you are showing care, and it's a more personal interaction between them, I do think there could be a difference there.